All right, good afternoon, class. Today we're going to be going over a rock cycle, and this reviews a lot of things that we've already went over, like the different rock types and everything. But first of all, what do you guys see here?
Diamond.
A diamond. Right. Does anybody know how a diamond is formed?
Compression and heat.
Very good, Mike. Compression and heat. So, what is that relation to the rock cycle? Do you know what the rock cycle is?
I do.
Okay. So, please tell me.
It's taking physical matter and putting it under compression and heat to make a substance, a rock.
Okay. Close. You're going to learn a little bit more, though. All right. So our objectives for today is students will be able to define what the rock cycle is. Students will be able to distinguish the different products that occur in the rock cycle. And also, students will be able to describe the processes that occur in the rock cycle. So for a pretest, I want you guys to write these down for me. The definition of the rock cycle. What is an example of a product of the rock cycle? What is an example of a process involved in the rock cycle? And last but not least, is the rock cycle unidirectional? That means, does it move in only one direction? So here's the definition that we're going to use for the rock cycle. Would someone please read this for me?
A series of processes on the surface and inside Earth that slowly change rocks from one kind to another.
Right. And I want to stress to you guys that slowly is the key. This can be thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of years. So always keep that in mind. So some products of the rock cycle. This is review when we went over all of our rock types: sediment, small solid pieces of material that comes from rocks. Sedimentary rock, as you guys will remember, forms when particles from other rocks are pressed or cemented together. And then a metamorphic rock is, like Mike said, and that's how a diamond is formed when there's lots of heat and pressure. And then an igneous rock is a rock that forms from the cooling of molten rock. So magma, which is inside the earth, lava, when it exits the earth and is on the surface. So some processes of it is heat and pressure. Remember that heat and pressure is increased the further you go into the earth. If you guys remember in your prior lessons when we studied the layers of the earth, you're going to have more heat and more pressure the further inside, closer to the core of the earth. Cooling is then going to work opposite of that, and you're going to have increased cooling closer to the surface and on the surface. And then also compaction, which is a process by which sediments are pressed together under their own weight. And cementation is a process by which dissolved minerals crystallize and glue particles of sediment together. So next here is just a diagram showing you what can happen and where these different processes happen in a layer of the earth. So we'll start out with sediment from this mountain here. As you guys can see, the sediment, it's transported down the mountain. How do you guys think that that would be transported? What's going to cause sediment to be transported? Water, that's one.
Wind.
Correct, wind.
Gravity.
Gravity, very good, very good. So then once it's deposited down below, you're going to have layers that build up on it. That sediment's just going to keep building and building and building like a layer of a cake. And with more layers of it, you're going to have increased weight, which is going to lead to compaction and cementation, which then forms your sedimentary rock. And then as things move, you're going to have burial. And that's where it's going to be introduced to high temperatures and high pressures. And then that's going to form a metamorphic rock, right? And then from there, it can be remelted once it reaches high temperatures. And then that's where you're going to have your igneous rock as it moves up and cools, whether it still be underneath the surface or on top of the surface of the earth. So as you guys can see here, this is a bunch of mumbo jumbo as far as all the arrows go. But you can definitely tell that the rock cycle is not unidirectional. It's multi-directional. But what I want you guys to get out of it for today mainly is to know that it's multi-directional, but really concentrate just on that main big arrows for right now. You have to understand this before you can move to the inner arrows to understand all the other relations. But just remember, from a sedimentary rock, that's where we'll start today, because that's where we'll also start in our activity, is heat and pressure is going to form it into a metamorphic rock. And then from there, solidification of magma or lava as it cools is going to produce the igneous rock. And then weathering and erosion is what's going to produce it back into sediments. And then the cycle continues. But remember, you can start at any point on this with any kind of rock. And remember all the other different relations that can be associated with it that you guys will later learn and improve understanding of. So next, we're going to do an activity. And I want to stress to you guys, safety to be used. We're going to be using scissors. And also try to keep everything on the wax paper to keep it clean. In case you guys do want to eat this at the end. If you guys can kind of just work in groups with this, just to make it go a little quicker. When you guys get these starbursts, just begin unwrapping them and cutting them into little pieces. You guys see there's different colors of starbursts? What do you think that this represents?
Different types of stuff.
Right? Different minerals. So once you guys get them unwrapped, cut them into really little pieces. And as we're working through this as a group, you guys can always refer back to the handout with the directions on it. But try to hurry through this so we have plenty of time to go through it.